Today on the Ask Brady Show, we talk about brand campaigns, creating them to be both measurable and memorable. Well, hey there! And welcome to the Ask Brady Show, episode number 48. And we've got 4 great questions from the people of Pro Church Nation, and I'm joined as always to my left, your right, now in beautiful 4K resolution. It's Roxanne.
It's true.
True it is. Behind the new 4K camera, the editing wizard himself, Joe Nex. And the man with the cam and hosting Pro Church Daily, Alex Mills.
Thanks. It's not really as special as it sounds because I work here, but I'm here.
Well, Roxanne, before we dive right into the first question like normal, I did just want to make note that we are now completing the very first week of daily content here at Pro Church Tools. The Ask Brady Show, part of the Pro Church Daily family. The Sunday show, the final show of the week, the 7th episode, or the first episode.
I like to think of it as the first.
Yeah, let's go with that. I like that
I'm
too.
number one, obviously.
The Ask Brady Show first. Any way to get Alex back, he started hosting the show, and I think he's starting to get like...
Getting a little big-headed, maybe?
Look, there's only room for one big-headed, pretentious jerk in this company, and that's me, okay? So, but just so you know, whether you're listening on the Pro Church podcast feed or watching on Facebook or YouTube, we've gone daily with content in 2018. Monday through Saturday, we've got 6 episodes of what we're calling Pro Church Daily, 10 minutes or less. Our whole goal with those episodes is to give you a single actionable item that you can start implementing within your church or ministry right away. And then, of course, we've got the Ask Brady Show now being released every Sunday. We've got a couple of people saying, hey, we missed you over the holidays. We missed you, but we were prepping for daily content. We're now filming with 2 Ursa Mini cameras, so we've got 4K Ask Brady, and most importantly, as you can't see, maybe you can see over here, but we soundproofed the entire room. We've got acoustic panels hanging from the ceiling, acoustic panels on that wall and above the pictures behind us. So improved sound, improved visuals, and I got a haircut. Finally got that long hair
Praise
cut
the
off.
Lord.
See you later. Experiment failed. It's okay to try and experiment. Sometimes they fail. All that to say, welcome to 2018, 48th episode of Pro Church Daily. No, this is the Ask Brady Show.
Yeah.
I did that on Pro Church Daily, too. It's going to be a struggle. You know it's not a struggle. The first question. Take us away, Roxanne.
So the first question comes from Dave, and he sent in a video.
Well, hey, Brady and Roxanne and all of Pro Church Nation. I appreciate all the things that you do. My name is Dave Dolphin. I'm the worship pastor here at Trinity Baptist Church of Yukon, right here in the Oklahoma City metro area. I've also been known to share ideas and tips and practical advice for the everyday worship leader right here on YouTube. Thanks. It's not as special as it sounds, but I'm here. So the mission of our worship ministry is to inspire people to pursue God through creativity and character. And that doesn't necessarily limit us to just 20 minutes on a Sunday morning, and that certainly doesn't limit us to just music. We're always looking for creative and artistic ways to inspire people to pursue God. So in 2017, we launched a Facebook page for the worship ministry, not just to promote the things that are going on in the ministry, but to be an extension of that mission. So being a social media guru, such as yourself, I would be curious your thoughts, maybe some ideas you might have on a page like this, like in that sandbox, in that lane of extending the mission of the worship ministry or creative arts ministry. What are some posts that you would maybe see on a page like this that would get good engagement?
So I'm starting to second guess myself a bit and think that this is the 48th episode of the Ask Brady Show.
Yeah, I think that might be right.
Which means that's the first time that I haven't checked beforehand.
You were so sure to.
My certainty, my arrogance in 2018. So don't worry. I think Jonas will just go back in and fix it with his editing wizardry. It'll be seamless. No one will even notice.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It was probably because if we'd had a show last week, it would have been 48. This would be 49th.
Wow. See? My internal clock never lies. Okay, great question. Also loved the little Alex Mills dig there. Also great with the KC overlay. Very nice. Okay, so I want to answer this question a little bit differently. You know, normally we could talk about just smart macro strategies for social media, for Facebook. what I think this is interesting, and I've been seeing from a couple of brands at the beginning of 2018, is the importance of finding concrete, very precise kind of branding campaigns to rally around. So what I mean by that is, and I'll give 2 examples. One thing I've been trying to do is learn from the fitness industry on Instagram and social media. Now, aside from, as Roxanne aptly mentioned, the shirtless and naked photos of the fitness industry, not including those, I think that the fitness industry in general has done a phenomenal job of leveraging social media. And what I love to do is look at what other industries are doing on social, look at kind of the techniques, the underlying strategies behind what's being done, and find a way to translate that into the world of the church and the people that we're trying to reach. And one thing that I've been noticing from one specific guy that I follow, who is a Canadian, is that he says pretty much the exact same thing over and over and over again. But it's so precise and so specific that this is kind of his rallying cry that every one of the people that follows him kind of falls in line with. And that is, he's like, I want to help you build a Hollywood physique. And then he'll tell you all the things that he's not going to help you do. He's like, I don't want to help you, do this in the gym. I don't care if you are like wanting to be a meathead and have crazy gains and all this. I want you, and my whole goal and every program I have is with this singular goal. For a guy, you to have this specific ratio between the width of your shoulders and the width of your waist to create that V shape, the type of shape in his experience or research that is proven to attract women and is okay. Look, just so you know, I am married and don't need to attract women. I need to attract women, okay, and that's my wife. You know what? This is helpful. Don't look. Stop looking at me like that. Point being,
I'll just look at the camera.
He says this almost every single day, and basically he'll do his whole teaching thing, and it'll come down to, and my whole point is, to get you to make this physique, remember this, this, and this, and it's very specific what he's trying to help you accomplish. Let's use another fitness one that I don't follow, but has found me online through, I think, my wife's connection to it. Gymshark is a brand within the gym world. Okay, cool. Yeah. So my wife has a lot of their, their apparel. I've been seeing their viral campaign that's been going out since the beginning of 2018, and it's basically following this one guy, and I don't know this guy's name, but what has stood out to me is the copy and the entire story that goes behind this branding campaign is, it takes 66 days to create a habit that sticks. Follow along, Jim, over the next 66 days. And that has stood out to me because it's so precise, so specific, and everything that they're probably doing within this brand campaign comes down to that number, 66. Right. I say all that to say that it's easy to create kind of abstract and ambiguous branding campaigns in a page like this where the topic is worship and creativity. There's so much that could be done. There's so much that you could try and attempt to communicate with your audience. But I think the biggest win that you could do is create a campaign that is specific, tangible, and thus memorable for your audience. So here's an example. I was looking at the goals that I was setting for this year, and I shared them publicly on my Instagram story and on Facebook, and I got a lot of feedback on these goals. People were saying, man, your goals are super specific. Like, we have a revenue goal for Pro Church Tools, and that revenue goal, the deadline for it is the end of Q1, so that's March 31st, 2018. There's nothing ambiguous about that. Either we're making that much revenue by that date or not. Mm-hmm. I also have a goal. This is the personal, fitness and health goal, is to eat within 20% of my allotted macronutrients. That's protein, fat, and carbs. Eat within 20% of those. 46 out of every 52 out of the 52 weeks. So I want to have 46 perfect weeks this year, eating within 20% of macros. So that means there can be 6 weeks throughout the year where I have a day that's not perfect, but I, even within that goal, gave myself a 20% below or above limit that would still count as a check mark on that day. Basically, these are so specific and so measurable that it's very clear yes or no if it worked. And I want to kind of get down to that same type of precision with my response to this answer. So I thought of some ideas for what, this church, this creative worship ministry could do with their campaign. So first, you want to create something that's measurable. He shared his like kind of mission statement at the very beginning was like character and something or other.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like they have a why, which is great. Now let's get that why and make it even more specific. Like for instance, we did this with Pro Church Tools. We went from helping your church, do good with communications to seize the 167 hours beyond your Sunday service. That tagline has caught on so much because there's a number there. And I think the number is a big part of it. 66 days to build a habit. The precise 2-to-1 or 2.3 to 1.5 ratio between, shoulders, and you're doing it again.
I'm sorry. I can't take it serious. I apologize.
There's a similar ratio for women between hips and waist. Yeah, waist and hips. Anyway.
Yeah.
Point being, it's all very specific and number oriented. So maybe your campaign could be something like, for the whole first quarter of 2018 or for all of 2018, our goal is to inspire you in ways to add 10 minutes of extra focused worship every day. And everything that you do campaign-wise could be like, our goal is that when someone interacts with this piece of content on social media, that they are going to be compelled with a clear roadmap on how to devote 10 minutes extra each day to worship God. Now, the way that you accomplish that, there's so many different ways that you could do that. You could explore throughout the entirety of 2018 ways to inspire your audience to take those 10 extra minutes in worship, in fellowship, in communion with God. But it all would come down to that same branding statement, 10 extra minutes, 10 extra minutes, 10 extra minutes. The more that you harp on that, the more that you dial that in, the more every single day that you say it and say it and say it, it becomes a thing that for your audience will become second nature. And they'll start to notice things in their own life. They're like, 10 extra minutes, 10 extra minutes. Oh, I should set aside a couple extra minutes. That, at the end of the day, is what I think is going to move the needle forward the most for you and your audience because it is measurable. And thus it is memorable. And when something is both measurable and memorable, it becomes that much more achievable. Mm-hmm. There is great data and science on this with New Year's resolutions. They look at people that set goals, and then they look at people that don't set goals, and then they look at people that set goals and write those goals down. And the people that set the goals and write them down are that much more, it's crazy numbers. 3 times more than the people that set goals and 30 times more than the people that don't set goals. And when I say don't set goals, what I mean is we have I want to be healthy in 2018.
Yeah.
Just like you have a mission statement for your Facebook page to help people, improve their character and worship with God. I would say those are the same. We all want to, get more close to Jesus. We all want to get healthier. But without specific, measurable, empirical ways of actually tracking those, we're that much less likely to accomplish them. So create a branding campaign. Measure it and create it in such a way where there's a number attached to it, and then spend the year being creative and finding ways to inspire that to happen. We've done that with Seize the 167. That everything comes down to that. Seize the 167. And now our goal every single day is to find ways to inspire churches, pastors, and leaders to realize that in their own ministry and actually accomplish it.
Yep. All right. Question 2 comes from Troy, and he says, "Hey Brady, and congratulations on your progress and success in 2017. As a media director of a church in Orlando and for a pastor's international ministry, I am interested in how you would approach marketing the both of these. Is it together or separately? The focus of the church is our local area, but for his ministry, it's international. Should the content from the church be the same on his ministry platforms? Should it start on the church's platforms for a period, then move to his? What are your thoughts?"
Well, thanks for the question, Troy. When it comes down to social media and content that travels between different channels, it's always less than ideal to have duplicate content on multiple channels. That becomes even more the case when it's duplicate channels on the exact same platform. If you're going to have a page for your church and the local ministry, plus a page for your pastor and his or her international ministry, even though the audiences hypothetically are completely different, you don't want to have the same content on each. And I would say that even if the audiences were 100% different, what you want to do is create native content for each platform that makes sense for that individual audience and coming from that individual organization or person. And we've done this with the Pro Church Tools stuff. We had to navigate these kind of tricky waters where we're Pro Church Tools, but it's also Brady Shearer. And some social platforms just make more sense for individuals and others make more sense for brands. So the way that we've done it is on YouTube and Facebook, we've stayed kind of pro-church tools. On Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat, we've gone more Brady Shearer. But even on YouTube and Facebook, we changed the name of our pages to Pro-Church Tools with Brady Shearer. And then in the descriptions or bios of all my Brady Shearer accounts, the first thing there is like CEO of Pro Church Tools. Yes. And that way, we were kind of playing to the native languages of each platform, but we were kind of walking the line between both. We haven't I did not think that I had the bandwidth available to separate them and have all the Pro Church Tools brands and all the Brady Shearer brands. And that's an important part here, is that it sounds like you, Troy, like you want to keep both pages active, but you really need to take inventory of the bandwidth that you have at your disposal and be honest with yourself and your pastor. Have him or her be honest with themselves. Do you have the bandwidth available to run 2 quality pages? Is that possible? And if it's not, I would much rather you consolidate into a single page that does well rather than try to maintain 2 separate accounts. Now, when it does come to the differences between an individual page and an organization page, the great thing about an individual page is you can be that much more personal. So there, you want to see a lot more of pastor and their spouse, pastor and the kids, pastor and their individual struggles. It's all about, the individual, whereas on the other side with the brand, it can be more about the church as a whole. So the content can change, but that's really kind of like a next step from, do you really need both? And do you have the bandwidth for both? And then understanding and playing to the native languages of how each would be different, because one is you're following a person and one is you're following a brand.
So if he does have the bandwidth, let's say it's like us with Story Tape, like we don't have Story Tape linked with Pro Church Tools stuff on social media. So like where does that line go of like, if you have the bandwidth, these don't belong together? Like, is there a point where his international ministry wouldn't overlap with his church? Like,
yeah. Okay. So like I said, it's less than ideal to have duplicate content, but sometimes you can. Like what I would do is I would aim for more than 50% unique content on each. And then the thing is, and this is what's dangerous about these 2 types of pages, you're saying like what wouldn't overlap? Probably very little. Like probably very little would not overlap, right. and you could put on both, and then you're just following into like there's two sides to this. Either you have the bandwidth or you don't to run both. Hypothetically, let's say Troy and the team does. On the other side, do you need both? Because unless you're creating unique content more than half the time on each channel, I don't think you need both. And I don't think a unique audience, one international, one local, is enough to warrant the 2 different platforms. It just that wouldn't be convincing for me.
Right. That makes sense to me. Okay. Question 3 comes from Taylor. And he says, since Brady and Roxanne came from a Pentecostal background, I've got a question about prophecies / word of knowledge. What should we do with prophecies in relation with service order? It's hard to schedule in because some people get it during different times of the service. I'd love for our church to move in the gifts with order. I truly believe there is a solution to make prophecy silky smooth, feel like it's part of the service. I don't, however, want it to have to be part of the service, meaning if it doesn't happen, that people go home feeling like something is missing.
Well, thanks for the question, Taylor. You are correct in that Roxanne, Jonas, Alex, and I all came from a charismatic / Pentecostal background. I actually grew up in a very small Baptist church until the Pentecostals found me, and really, as much as I joke, it's at that church where like my faith became my own. Found a place where I felt like I belonged, which was so much part of me falling in love with the church and ministry and really pro-church tools ever existing. Jonas, Roxanne, and I all went to the same church. Alex was lonely here in Niagara till we hired him, and that was at a different church.
He had no friends until he met us, so you're welcome, Alex.
I'm not going to say that's untrue. But we all have experience with this type of thing where someone either truthfully or in their mind receives a prophetic word from God and wants to share it with the congregation. And there are a couple of just contingencies that I think are important to be aware of and to take just as precaution, but also to help with the overall experience. The first thing is, whenever anything's happening within a church, I always ask myself, what's this going to be like for a new visitor. So if you are a healthy church, I think that you should be getting new visitors on a consistent basis. And ideally, that basis would continue to increase year after year. Otherwise, you're not really a church that's, I would say, in the community, known by the community, and reaching out into new people. I'm not saying that you need to be growing drastically by numbers, but if new people aren't coming to your church, that's definitely maybe a warning sign to look into. So put yourself in the position, in the seat, in the shoes of someone who's in your service for the first time. Someone comes up and, for whatever reason, prophetic words are often spoken in King James. So they go, "Thus saith the Lord, thiseth, beeth, myeth, proclamationeth, you areth wandering in the desert, be it in the wildernesseth." Now, I'm not trying to make fun of the gift of the Holy Spirit, but let's be honest. For some reason, a lot of the times, we feel like God only speaks in English, in the King James language.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's the only truth.
Well, I'm okay. So there you go. Roxanne put me in my place. You don't need to do it in the YouTube comments. Roxanne already did it. Point being is that if before the pastor hands over the mic to this individual, I think just make a little disclaimer about what's about to happen and what that means. And so, firstly, what our church did well was they did a really good job of making it where there wasn't an open mic that someone could just grab at any time.
Yeah.
There was that at one point. I think it became a little bit of an issue because people were using it perhaps irresponsibly, and thus they changed it where you had to approach the pastor, and basically, usually it happens during worship, right?
Yeah.
And so they come up and they say, "Yeah, so I feel like the Lord is asking me to share this with our church," and kind of just bullet point, "Here's what I'm thinking." And basically, the pastor would say, "Great, that fits in. That makes sense. I'm feeling the same thing you're feeling," or "I'm not so much feeling it."
Yeah.
And that would be the discretion of the senior leader on that day. If the senior leader deemed that that was definitely, vibing with the flow of the Spirit on that day, they would then give them the mic at the opportune moment. And this is also important because this person that's delivering the prophetic word, they may or may not have any understanding of music and quote-unquote worship ministry, and they may not understand that, okay, I should wait until the bridge of this song closes out, or, wait till we transition into a new song. And so the pastor and the worship leader, they kind of have that vibe and that relationship, so they would kind of play off each other, and the pastor would, give the nod to the worship leader that says, okay, hey, just, mellow on this, riff, and then hands the mic off to the person delivering the word. They walk up on stage and deliver. One extra thing that I'd like to see added is the pastor join them and basically say, "Hey, church, this is something that we do, but if you're new here, I just want to do a quick explanation. Basically, this is Martha, and Martha feels like she has this thing that God is impressing onto her that she wants to share with us, and so I'm going to hand it over to Martha. Martha, take it away." And you don't even have to go into the depths of prophetic ministry and what it means, but for a new visitor, they're like, "Oh, look, this is the pastor, and this is what's about to happen, and cool." Mm-hmm. And you're done.
Yeah.
So 3 things. 1, no open mic. Make it go through a senior leader. Make sure it's vibing with the service and vibing with the overall convictions and spirit of the senior leader in that moment. Number 2, do a quick introduction to just for new visitors. Just think about what their experience would be like. Could throw them off. And number 3, which was part of number 1, I kind of just condensed them, is have them go to the pastor and kind of just give a rundown beforehand, bullet points. Here's what we're thinking. Anything else you want to add?
No, I really agree with those points, especially I remember prior to when they made you talk to the pastor and go up there, that it was always really confusing because people just randomly start talking and you're like, what is happening? And sometimes it was more of that was a personal word for yourself and doesn't apply to anyone else here. So I think those are really great points. Yeah.
The one that I forgot I wanted to add again is going to the senior leader is also important because that way they can find the correct injection during the ministry. Okay, here's the time where it's good to go up. We're not going to interrupt the overall flow. I think one of the things I learned in Bible college was when you're operating in the gifts of the Spirit, they shouldn't be disruptive, especially within service. They're not supposed to be jarring and take away. They're supposed to be flowing with everything else. You wouldn't have one spirit doing X and another spirit doing Y and the spirits fight because there's only one spirit.
Yeah.
That be that.
All right, next question. It comes from, I probably going to pronounce this wrong, Lisanette. I want to take a moment to thank you for all the information you offer. It has helped me clarify doubts that, and in many ways confirm what I believe is right for social media of our church. I've been hired to be in charge of everything that is social media and communications in my church that is in the suburbs where most people are adults between 50 years and older, have families, and they are wealthy people. It is predominantly Caucasian church. Within a few months, the church will be planting in the city in a place where, according to the statistics that I have gathered, the millennials are the predominant generation in the area, and it is multiracial. The church wants to use the same website, Facebook page, and Instagram for both churches, and it seems to me that this should not be because the target group in the city area is different, and I think it will bring confusion to the people we are trying to reach in the city. I suggested to them to have different websites, but on each website have a link to the other church. I want to know what you think.
Great question. This kind of goes back to the second question about the two different Facebook pages. Really, the prerequisite in any case is, do you have the bandwidth to do both well? And if your leadership is saying we only need one because they recognize the limited resources and the inability to do two well, then I think at the end of the day, that should be basically the end of the conversation. But if you do have the bandwidth to do both well, it's an interesting question to kind of separate the two. I would say I probably would not do that. I'd probably keep the one that you already have and just integrate more content that would be more focused on millennials. I don't know what that would actually mean, like the type of focus, the type of content that a millennial likes and an older adult doesn't. I mean, there are numbers that are saying that people that are older than millennials, like the generation older than millennials, spends more time on social media than millennials do. So we're all spending time on social media the same. Maybe young people are looking at fitness people, apparently, and older people are looking at... What do older people look at?
Mostly Facebook news, I think, according to my mom.
So right. So right. Just CNN and Fox and hating each other. Okay. So in that instance, like the divide is not that big, and even though the church, the original campus, is serving in a place where I guess the census data would suggest that millennials don't really exist, I would also just say that that's probably going to change pretty soon. You know, millennials are starting to get older. In 2017 or 2018, the age of millennials is 20 to 37. So on the top end, like, that's a lot of people in their 30s. I already own my own home, but you know, you're in your 30s, you're settling down, you're getting married, you're having kids, you're buying a home. The demographics may be changing, and also 1 in 3 American workers is already a millennial. And so maybe you're serving in like a very small pocket of the country, of your community, where there aren't too many millennials, but on a whole, millennials are by far the biggest cohort, the biggest generation that's living in America. And so I don't think you need to separate. I'm all for simplicity and ease of use and sustainability with churches, especially on Facebook. Perhaps the biggest cardinal sin I see with churches on social is inconsistency. Mm-hmm. And the more you complicate things, the more that you add additional platforms, the more likely you are to be inconsistent. And when you're inconsistent, you lose on social. There's a reason we're going daily with content, because almost as much as possible, the more content you produce that's quality, the better. As long as you can continue to produce quality content, the quantity can be just keep ramping it up more and more and more. And so in this case, I'd probably suggest doing it all in one and just incorporating more millennial content, whatever you deem that to be. One, because you're planting a campus where you're going to be reaching more of those people, but even more importantly, simply because as a whole, your community, your nation is by far millennial dominated, even if you are in a small pocket that seems less. Mm-hmm. That'll do it for this 48th episode of the Ask Brady Show. If you want your question answered, you can send it in to hello@prochurchtools.com. Send in a video, and you'll be sent immediately to the top of the queue. Of course, if you want your question answered, you can also post it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube in the comments, and we will get connected to it there. Thanks for watching, Pro Church Nation. Daily content week 2 begins tomorrow. Woo! Pro Church Daily. We'll see you then. Seize the 167. We'll talk soon.